Hi, Nicole. I'm Ashley, the mayor.
Hi, Ashley.
Nice.
I've seen you around.
Welcome, welcome.
I'm Kelly, a trustee.
So I just had to tell you, I spent last Friday night 2.5 hours talking to, do you remember Graham and Katie?
Yes. Yeah, what?
And I was talking to Katie I just called her about a job thing, and then she was like, we 2.5 hours.
Really?
Graham never came home. He was out playing soccer. They're back in Georgia, and she'd asked about you.
Oh, right on. I wondered, yeah. Right on. Good for, yeah, I knew they were trying to always get back to Georgia at some point.
Totally.
Yeah. Aw.
It was so much fun.
And they're good? Their life is good? Yeah.
Life was so good. Yeah.
Aw, right on. I'm glad, yeah.
So Rachel also does, the payroll. Okay. So she'll be sending you, she has your, work email now and, your personal email, so that's the next steps. Hey, Marion. Hey, how you doing? Good. So if you're planning to speak, we just ask that you sign in. Okay. So it's more easier to keep track. Sure. So if you do plan to speak tonight, to give, input at the public hearing, if you'll, sign in, that would be great. How's this? Here we go. All right. You plan to give input at the public hearing, not visit that. Sorry. Okay. Yeah, I just want to make sure.
What's up?
Yeah. Oh, did they get all snagged up? Katie, do you have any more copies of the agenda?
Oh, I'll have to make some more.
Yeah,
No problem.
I wrote all over
Matt, just, if we get, we're trying to get people to sign in, so that we can get their name and address, but still have them name and address when they speak. And if they go on Zoom, same thing.
Okay.
We may ask them to slow down so we can get names and addresses.
Okay.
Evening. Hey, how are you? Good to see you again.
P.S. I had a little cough this morning. I took 2 COVID tests. I'm negative, but I have a little tickle in my throat. So I will try not to breathe on you.
It is, the subject, but not how it's expressed.
Katie's making some more.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question before we go down? Will there be a chance for public comment directly related to the proposal as well as general comment?
Yes.
Okay, we got more agendas.
Thank you. You may. You got the front row? This side? Uh-oh. Plan, 3-minute plan, not a 3-mile plan, it's a 3-minute.
I think Chris is supposed to zoom in.
No, Chris Hoffman,
She-
and he's still not on.
This was,
I would wait and see just a second. See if Tish shows up.
yeah, we've been waiting for you. Oh. Amanda.
Oh, Tish is on. Okay, Tish is joining on and Chris. Yeah. I think they're on.
All right, it's 6:31. I'll call this meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Briel. Vice Chairperson Gadd.
Here.
Commissioner Nelson. Commissioner O'Shea Heidinger. Trustee Politis.
Here.
Mayor Tarkington.
Here.
Chairperson Nyberg.
Here.
4 present, 3 absent.
No, we've got them on Zoom. They're
Tish
just.
and Chris are on there.
Okay, sorry, thank you.
Can you guys hear us?
I'm thinking not.
Yeah.
All right, can we all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we'll move on to general public input. This is limited to 10 minutes, 3 minutes per speaker. And if it pertains to the agenda, we would just wait until we get to that part of the discussion. So is there any public input? And please state your name and address.
Hello, my name is Kat Katzos. I live at 525 Dove Ranch Road, Bayfield. First of all, I'd like to thank Katie Sickles, Town Manager, for providing summaries of what is or will be in the proposed pipeline of developments and guidance regarding the procedures for considering reviewing proposed developments, both for the trustees and the public, and for her follow-up with my specific emails. Thank you, Katie. Regarding proposed developments coming up in 2022, first concern, as was made evident in the last town meeting, town is understaffed. I was troubled by the discussion and approval during the last meeting for a current applicant. Keeping in mind the current staffing and hiring challenges, the appropriate action would have been to pause the process for further consideration of a specific applicant. As a tax-paying citizen of Bayfield, I would expect that proper protocols are met. Assessing greatest need, clearly defining the job description and compensation, and then reposting the job, and not making a salary and job description decision on the fly. Second concern, at the last meeting, Brian Blanchard brought to the trustees' attention that the town currently has 850 developed acres, and the town has the potential to increase by 42%, or 355 acres, in 1 year if proposed developments are approved, as noted by Katie Sickles. One area that the board could apply due diligence would be to require every developer, regardless of the development, to provide a traffic, water, and use impact study. This would offer a level of assurance to the citizens that because of lack of staffing, the board expanded their guidance and consideration for approving developments. Third concern, the town is falling behind updating their comp plan as required by the state, and with updating the comp plan would also include reviewing and updating the zoning map to meet the direction of the comp plan. By not attending to these requirements and updates, you are placing the cart before the horse when it comes to approving developments. Developments that could greatly deviate from the wishes of the public, and of course the public includes citizens, business owners, developers, town infrastructure such as public works and schools. It would be my suggestion that the trustees consider creating a citizen advisory board to provide additional review and guidance. And if I understand correctly, the Mustang Crossing annexation I need to save for later in the agenda, is that correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, great. All right, sorry about that. Now that I need to jump ahead, let me get this page turned. So, I would like to say that I am not opposed to development, but I am concerned how the future developments will meet the vision well-defined in the comp plan, and that thorough review of developments will take into consideration all key elements of the comp plan and not just one aspect, such as meeting housing demands. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Good evening, Brian Blanchard, 627 Louisiana Drive. I'm just going to read my statement so I can keep it kind of short and brief. But first of all, thank you all for the volunteering and the efforts you put in to these proceedings. We do appreciate it. It may not seem that way sometimes, but we do. We would like to encourage the planning department to work with the town manager and town trustees on updating and adding some improvements to the building and land use codes and comprehensive plan. After looking over multiple other communities similar to our town in size, we noticed that almost all of them have added new clarification and improvements to their codes via Muni Code for the betterment of their communities. Some of the items that stood out are pass-through costs, which are increased traffic due to construction, new regulations and requirements pertaining to parks and open space should be included with all new developments. We have added quite a few new subdivisions in the past few years, that have 0 open space and 0 park space accommodated for. my feeling is, and my wife's feeling is, and some of the other people I've talked to, is has really got to stop. We have to start making the developers put in open space and park space as needed for the betterment of the community. So it should be an all-due development, or at a minimum, some sort of substantial in lieu of contribution or penalty for not providing the space with their proposal. Better non-motorized connectivity within the town and methods for obtaining it, and most importantly was the consensus of being more selective over developments and the requirements thereto that will positively impact our community. We feel that the town has a responsibility to look at each development proposal not only individually, but how that development will impact the town into the future and how it fits into our vision and our quality of life for us, the residents. In section 1.1 of the land use plan, it states on the very beginning of your document, and I quote, "This land use code will have the following purposes: to promote the health, safety, and general welfare of Bayfield residents, to lessen congestion in the streets, to identify and secure for present and future residents the beneficial impacts of development, to identify and avoid the negative impacts of development." Thanks for your time.
Thank you, sir. All right, we'll move on to action agenda 1E, planning commissioners disclosure conflicts of interest.
None.
None? All right, seeing no conflicts of interest, we'll move on to 1F, approval of the agenda.
I would make a motion to approve the agenda with the addition of the Brooke Briel resignation discussion, section 4.
Second.
That motion is seconded. Roll call, please.
Vice Chairperson Gadd,
Yes.
Commissioner Nelson,
Yes.
Commissioner O'Shea Heidinger,
Yes.
Trustee Politis,
Yes.
Mayor Tarkington,
Yes.
Chairperson Nyberg,
Yes.
all in favor.
Thank you, ma'am. So we'll move on to action agenda number 2, public hearing. And this is on the 2021 Mustang Crossing annexation zoning. Miss Katie?
So, Chris Hawkins, your consultant with Alpine Planning, will provide an overview as the staff.
Thank you.
Unmute yourself.
Hi, good evening, Chris Hawkins. Oh, Katie, can someone allow me to share my screen? Apologies for not being able to be there this evening. We have a little quarantine going on in our house. There's a lot of people. So, as far as the property, this is the county GIS. Can everyone see it?
Yes.
Yes.
So I just want to give a little bit bigger picture than the vicinity map in my staff memo. It's kind of located over here on the southeast side of the town. So just a little bit more context from this image. And just hopefully it'll be that useful. As far as presentation, the board approved resolution 504 finding substantial compliance with the requirements of CRS 3112-107A.
Can't do anything about broadband.
Right.
We lost you, Chris.
Oh, hang on. Let me turn off the GIS. Hang on. And I'm gonna also mute my video. Can you hear me now?
Yes?
Yes. Okay. Yes. Board of Trustees approved Resolution 504 that basically set the stage for the public hearing tonight and allows for the planning commissioner to consider the amendment to the official zoning map to include the property. And the request is to include it in the R10 zone district. So here I think everyone's familiar with the property. This is a copy of the annexation map that's attached to the annexation petition. And here's a copy of the development plan that's proposed. Again, it's 85, about 2.4 lots per acre or units per acre. And the median lot size is 13,600 square feet. So it's Mustang Drive, Louisiana Drive, in the end. As far as the criteria for the planning commission, I'm going to quickly go through this. A need exists for the proposal. Again, this is really at the town's discretion, but the Bayfield Master Plan, Section 5.2, establishes a need for the proposed residential land use. Sorry about that. In this, it's got the recommendation 5.1, diversify housing types to meet changing demands of population. And I think everyone's well aware that there's some sections in the master plan that identify that Bayfield is a bedroom community to Durango, and it identifies that there is a substantial increase in housing in subdivisions. So this was envisioned in the plan. In terms of the other policy, 5.1.2, stock in the community. I did review it for the other master plan policies. There's some environmental policies in there. There's really no environmental constraints on the site. When you think of wetlands or steep slopes or other resources as well, the irrigation ditches going through the property will have to be protected. We have a referral from the irrigation company that sets forth the standards for the irrigation piping, irrigation easements, etc. So it really doesn't apply there. The only master plan policy that could remotely be applied to this is somehow looking at trail connectivity in the subdivision, but I didn't see any trails in the area. Maybe I missed that, and someone can help me out with that. Criteria B, the particular parcel of ground is indeed the correct site for the proposed development. Again, the master plan's future land use map identifies the property for medium density residential development. So the town as a whole, including the planning commission and the board, adopted the master plan to envision this use. And that amendment occurred back in October, and there's quite a bit of discussion on that. I listened in on those meetings. See, this is an interesting one. There's been an error in the original zoning. There is no town original zoning on the property yet. It just hasn't been applied, and that's why I said this factor is not applicable, because it's establishing the first town zoning on the property. How can you have an error in the current zoning when the town doesn't have zoning on it? And so that's why I've written it that way. Maybe you take a different view of that, but to me, this really doesn't apply to first zoning applied to properties through annexation. Criterion D, there have been significant changes in the area to warrant a zone change. I think the master plan identifies the growth of Bayfield and identifies it as being a residential growth, primarily with other complementary development. Persons. So it's about a 15% increase in population. There's also been growth in commercial development. Durango's growing, which is also, of course, pushing up demand for housing in Bayfield as a different housing stock. The educational systems of Bayfield are very attractive, as well as the amenities. People just don't want to live in Durango necessarily. So there have been a lot of changes, I think, to warrant the zone change, but ultimately that's up to you to determine. Adequate circulation exists and traffic movement would not be impeded by development. The town will review the engineered detailed access plan for the property while reviewing the required subdivision application. And there's a traffic impact report that's required to meet the requirements of the land use code. We don't have that traffic impact analysis yet. That's one of the conditions that I am recommending you consider this evening. In terms heard, which the town is not prepared to meet, the developer of the property will have to install all the subdivision infrastructure. And there has been recently a fiscal impact study was provided. Maybe the applicant's team can brief you on that tonight. But that'll be in the council packet going up for their consideration as well. Impact study will be provided, and I'm recommending this be provided with the sketch plan subdivision. Hopefully you agree with that, but if not, we can go through that and figure it out. In terms of environmental impacts, there's not any significant environmental resources, as I indicated, and the water quality of the irrigation ditch will have to be protected through easements and valving and controls, so there's really not going to be any environmental impacts on that water. H, the proposal is consistent with the town master plan goals and maps. It's also related to land use code section 725, and it talks about where property becomes part of the town by annexation. The use district applied to the property must conform to the adopted comprehensive plan at the time of annexation. And the proposed zoning amendment is consistent with the master plan and the medium density designation that's proposed for the property. So it's consistent with the land use plan and the master plan. So if you determine the proposed zoning amendment adequately addresses the factors in section 310B15, you can pass the following motion recommending the Board of Trustees approve the zoning amendment. And I have some conditions you can think. Prior to submitting the subdivision sketch plan application. This way, and I'm sure they're already going to do this, they're going to work closely with the irrigation company on the design, and they're not going to submit anything they haven't already run by that irrigation water rights holder. Condition 2, obtain a review permit for the gas well. The gas well itself, it's a natural resource extraction in your code, and it just requires a review permit in this zone district. So that's another condition, and I'm just suggesting that occur concurrent with the town subdivision process. Condition 3, coordinate the property's access planning with and design with town staff to ensure coordinated and acceptable design, and that's done in concert with the engineered traffic impact analysis and the town. They have provided the fiscal impact study. Condition 6 is concerning the water quality of irrigation ditches. And then 7 is talking about including these in a development annexation agreement that will go in front of the Board of Trustees next week. So I'm glad to answer any questions you might have at this time, and I know the applicant's presentation may answer some of your questions as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Is the applicant here tonight?
Yes.
Would it be possible for someone to read the recommendations since we couldn't hear him? Please.
Chris, can you go back a page?
No, we just couldn't hear him.
There. This page, Katie.
Just the
Okay, I need the conditions.
the conditions.
There you go, there you go.
Okay, the applicant shall submit a letter of consent from the ditch easement holders for the rerouting design of the irrigation systems through the property prior to submitting the subdivision sketch plan application. The applicant shall obtain a review permit for the gas well concurrent with the town subdivision process. The applicant shall coordinate the property's access planning and design with the town staff to ensure coordinated and acceptable design. The The applicant will submit a traffic impact analysis to the town concurrent with the required subdivision sketch plan application. Can you go to the next page?
I'm there.
5 is crossed off. 6, the water quality of the irrigation ditches will have to be protected through the subdivision design and best management practices. 7, these conditions may be included into the required annexation agreement for the property prior to the board's review of the annexation and zoning amendment. Chris, could you mute yourself?
Yeah, that's not me. That's
Yeah, the other, yeah.
Chris, can you mute yourself?
Oh, I'm sorry.
All right, Ms. Tone, were you good with that?
Thank you. I just, from this angle of the screen is
Yeah.
out, and then we also couldn't hear him, so I really appreciate that.
All right. All right, anything from the developer?
Good evening, I'm Glenn Moselle from Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, also known as that out-of-state developer. And just wanted to thank you for your time and consideration tonight. And my partner and I, Jeff Jorgensen, we've closed on the land, purchased it in November.
Can you speak up, please?
Yes. We purchased the property, Jeff Jorgensen, my partner, and I, in November. And Jeff is a Colorado resident and has owned a home here in La Plata County for 30 years. And I, too, have roots from Colorado. I lived in the Front Range during the 90s, and my first development project was actually in Longmont, Colorado, 80 acres there, called Mill Village. So we see this site as being a very logical extension of the city, and we, more than anyone else, would love to see the right neighborhood built there. We're not looking to cut any corners or get away with anything. And I truly applaud and appreciate the neighborhood feedback. We had a neighborhood meeting back in October. And we are incorporating many of those recommendations into our next plan. The next site plan will include an open space path around the entire perimeter of the property. We're also looking at incorporating a small park. We want to discuss with the city whether the city would like to have a city park there, or if it would be a small HOA-owned park. We're looking to create an excellent neighborhood and maybe raise the bar regarding CC&Rs, say not allowing RVs or boats parked in driveways. We're incorporating wider lots to allow for off-street parking or parking to the rear. We'd like to de-emphasize garage doors and emphasize front porches, creating a better streetscape, and perhaps introducing minimum landscape requirements as well to require trees to create a tree-lined street. Anyway, again, I do appreciate all the feedback. We are working with Rick Ludwig for our design of the ditch management, as well as the fencing to the neighboring ranches. And we think we're going to have a community neighborhood that the city and the neighbors will be proud of. So I'm available for any questions. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you, sir.
Hello, everyone. My name is Andy Arnold. I work with SEH. We are representing the applicant and working with them on submitting this application for annexation. I just wanted to go over real quickly because I know there was a lot of information that Chris was able to provide for us. One of the purposes of this meeting, again, is to the initial zoning of this property. We reviewed all of the letters. We thank the neighborhood for sending us those letters and those comments. Just to reiterate, again, this comprehensive, I saw a number of neighbors mention that the land use designation was zoned open space. Just to be clear, the original master plan, future land use plan, did have this as a land use designation of open space. That is true. That open space designation was changed in October with that planning commission meeting to amend the comprehensive plan. That comprehensive plan amendment created a medium-density residential land use designation. That's different than zoning, and what we're here today to talk about is the R10 initial zoning designation on this property. I wanted to briefly discuss why we selected R10. Out of the options with the town, we thought it was most in alignment with the comprehensive plan's medium-density residential designation in the comp plan. R10 zoning will allow for a minimum lot size of 10,000 square feet. We looked at the neighboring lot sizes. I believe the Mustang Crossing averaged about 11,500 square feet per lot. And currently we're looking at about 13,600 average lot size throughout this development. So that would fall right in with the R10 zoning designation. The other reason that we did not do medium density residential designation, which is a zoning designation with the town, is because that zoning designation does allow for townhomes and multifamily development, which would be at a higher density, which we thought would be undesirable for the community. We wanted to continue the pattern of development that we're seeing surrounding this property. Like Glenn has mentioned, we did receive a number of comments regarding trails and open space and as concerns with the neighborhood, and we are incorporating that in our sketch plan. And so you should have that sketch plan the week of January 24th. I believe that should go out the last day, the January 25th, to the neighborhood so that they will be able to see that updated sketch plan, how it's been revised, and there will be a meeting, assuming that annexation of this property moves forward on the 18th. There would be a meeting in early February for additional discussions about that design and what we're thinking about for the entire property. So just wanted to reiterate, that's kind of where we are in the process. We're just trying to get the R10 zoning designation applied to this potential annexation that will be heard by the board next week. And we're open to any questions or happy to answer anything in regards to that initial zoning. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Does the board have any questions? Go for it.
Are there intentions in the current plans for some trails and open space? And, I mean, you're kind of teasing that there might be, but you're not saying it. I get that we won't see the sketch until the week of the 24th, but
Yes, so there are intentions. We're currently updating the original site plan that was presented or provided for this meeting. Again, those, not only will you see them in the sketch plan, I don't mean to say that we're teasing them out as if they wouldn't be there, but this will be part of the subdivision process. Assuming that this property were to get annexed, and even if it wasn't annexed, this would then fall on the county for their development review. But if assuming it gets annexed by the town, that process would then be opened up to, again, neighborhood comment regarding those designs and whatnot. So you certainly will see them. And one of the reasons we held off on providing the sketch plan earlier is just we had discussions with Katie and understanding some of the staff constraints at this time. We wanted to kind of space this out. So this is mostly this is really a discussion on the initial zoning if R10 is appropriate for this property.
thank you.
No problem. I'll stay up here in case anyone else has any questions.
Actually, I have one question, but I think it's for Mr. Ludwig. beings that in the past with all the current developments and they've been going to piping the ditch and you have reviewed their current plan, are you okay with their current standing?
I haven't seen, I've been talking to Mr. Mozell quite a bit about our ditch. It comes down through there. We did set out a 36-inch pipe that we want buried through there. Excuse me, and then that ditch over there on the west side, that'd be the west side of that subdivision. We gotta have it piped as well, because that's water for the 2 residents down south of me. And he is working with us. When we talked about it, whenever he first come and looked at the property, and I explained everything to him at that point, he is working with us. I do appreciate you guys taking the time to look at that, and unfortunately, you know, we gotta better protect those ditches, not only for the ditch holders, but as for the property owners themselves. You know, we have backups in the ditch, we have property destroyed, we have houses damaged, and not to mention the safety of the kids in the subdivision as well. So, yeah, we're working together on that, and you're supposed to be getting me some stuff on, you know, everything coming through on the plan for sure.
All right, I really appreciate that feedback because I know in the past, beings that, you know, with the ditch, we want to make sure that, you know, everybody's protected, you know.
You know, it's just like down there in the old part of Clover Meadows, the houses down there, before that was piped, the water that they were getting from the ditch under their houses. I mean, it was unbelievable. And once Corey Godley put that pipe in there, we stopped all that stuff, and it dried that up a lot.
Right, and I see that being more beneficial to the homeowners, not having to, and also for the ditch, because then you're not losing that runoff and there's more money. So it goes hand in hand, so I really appreciate that you guys are working together to get that solved. Any other questions? All right, I guess I will open it up for public comment at this point.
I have a couple of questions.
Stand up to the podium and go ahead and give your name and address again.
Brian Blanchard, 627 Louisiana Drive. A couple quick questions, then we'll get on to some other comments. But real quickly, how much acreage are you proposing for park and open space out of the 30 acres that you are developing? Okay, all right. And then R10, I would encourage you all to slow down on granting R10 before we get a lot more of these answers in. They're trying to get that through. I would suggest we go to R20 on this property and compromise a little bit on other things that will follow with R20 rather than R10. So question is open space and parks, traffic, and then don't jump on R10 unless we're ready to do that.
Thank you, sir.
Marion Tone, 1495 County Road 526, and my husband Alan Tone is here for questions as well. Is it possible to put one of the maps back up that show? If not, that's fine.
Chris, could you put a map up of, what would you like a map of?
Well, let me just say this, I guess, first, and then maybe we can figure out which is the best map. So Mr. Mozell is right. He met with us out on the property with both Mr. Ludwig's. And we appreciate that. And then we had that community meeting. So we really felt like there was going to be a lot of communication and cooperation. But since that neighborhood meeting that happened here in this room, total radio silence, not a word of communication from the developer or the developer's team or the town for that matter about this until I tracked down a copy of the package. So I wanted you to know that. There's been a lot of pleasantries, but absolutely no communication since the neighborhood meeting that happened here. And that's too bad. The map, as it relates to the Tone property, is actually incorrect. And I'm hoping that, I don't know which map this is called. It's just a map with some red lines on it. So I don't know what map that is called.
GIS.
Okay, so the, I don't know about this line, because that's too vague for me to figure out, but this line that goes around the old town water tank is wrong. That those 3 parcels have been surveyed previously, and they are not connected as they are portrayed on this map. There are 3 independent parcels that do not connect. And I'm deeply concerned that showing it as a connected parcel may indicate that the town is hoping to take private property and turn that into a road or some other right-of-way in the future. And I just want to go on record that we're adamantly opposed to that, as you can probably imagine, and that the map here is incorrect. So I think somebody should probably take a hard look at that. I heard from the planner here that there's no environmental impacts from this project. I think it's far too early to determine that. There is no plan for providing water. We all know the town's been facing water shortages. No plan has been provided for providing this domestic water for 85 units. There's no plan for handling the sewer plant, which is already struggling, to address this annexation. I know the town has a plan for addressing the properties already within the town boundaries, but there is nothing. The water is a particular issue to us because it's always the agricultural uses that get shortchanged when there's a water shortage. So we're anticipating that when there's no water plan to address this development, that it's the agricultural uses that get the short end of the stick on that. We're opposed to that. In terms of conditions for the property, we appreciated that Chris had said that he's recommending a letter of consent from the ditch companies. We agree, of course, with that. And I think the town has come a long way in the last couple of years in terms of, especially under Ms. Sickles' careful review of these things to make sure that the conditions from the ditch companies are implemented. So we appreciate that recommendation. I do remain concerned that there's a lack of town planning here. This is just an ad hoc basis for the peripheral planning. I think that's a serious concern. I heard Chris indicate that we're a bedroom suburb for Durango. I know I don't live in the town boundaries, but I resent being called a bedroom community of this whole area for Durango. I think we're much better than that. I've tried to convey my support for some comprehensive planning and making Bayfield a much better community than just being the 20% cheaper than Durango bedroom community. In terms of conditions also, we would be adamantly opposed to any trails along the northern boundary or the eastern boundary, which abut the Tone property. It's a very serious concern when you have children escaping the subdivision and running onto agricultural property. It would be very tempting for people to leave the trail and then wander through the agriculture use, and that could be really dangerous for a whole lot of reasons, not to mention the fact that we're not in favor of opening the property to public use. So we would be requesting a 6-foot privacy fence on all property lines that touch the Tone, the Lazy AKT Longview Ranch, Inc., or the Tone Trust property. And let's see, what else? We would request a condition that before the subdivision is approved, that the developer be required to prove up water and sewer availability. And I'd ask for a condition that no part of this development would be dependent upon access through the private property owned by the Tones at this time. So appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kat Katzos, 525 Dove Ranch Road, Bayfield. Kind of reiterating the concerns of Ms. Tone, Mustang Crossing annexation zoning that was reviewed by Alpine Planning LLC and produced the memo dated January 7th mostly focused on the need for residential development, but did not include recommendations for considering a key element mentioned time and again in the comp plan, which is preserving agriculture history that so defines Bayfield. No mention of including open space or appropriately considering the ditch system that supports so many other ranches and farms downstream. How will redirecting the ditch support open space should that become an option? adjoining ag land, and the water system that best supports ag. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am.
Brian Blanchard, 627 Louisiana Drive. This is in regards directly to Mustang Crossing subdivision. When I say we, it's my wife and myself. So we feel that the property proposed for the new subdivision titled Mustang Crossing should be left as it was intended to be open and park space. Having said that, you seem to be moving ahead with the annexation, and that's okay. I am not opposed to development. If this project is to be approved, at a minimum, we would ask that the proposed density be reduced to mitigate the negative impact that the original proposal plan may have on the surrounding residents. We would support an R20 designation for the proposal. We feel reducing the density would enhance the proposal for all concerned. Perhaps not so much for the developer, but certainly for the hundreds of the surrounding residents. The amount of additional traffic that would be generated will be substantial. That's been documented from all of the planners that work for the developer. By the applicant's own representative disclosure, at the proposed density, there would be approximately 600 to 800 new trips of vehicles per day added to Louisiana Drive and or Mustang Drive. Louisiana Drive cannot handle that additional impact due to the safety and the wear and tear on our road. Our other big concern is in the proposed development, there is no open space exclusive of roads or parks included whatsoever in the plan. There needs to be a predetermined amount of land dedicated to parks and open space for the community within the subdivision plan. You are adding and stacking one high-density subdivision on another without any provision for open space or parks. At some point, you have a responsibility to provide for, encourage, and require development to include certain things that will have a positive impact on our community. After reviewing several other towns and how they require parks and open space within new developments, they have a formula that the developers must adhere to. For development the size of Mustang Crossing, there should be at a minimum 3 acres of dedicated parks and open space. Why would the town not want to do that?
Thank you, sir.
Is your microphone not turned on?
It's working.
It's working. I'll speak up, Mr. Teddy Jack.
I don't understand why we want to have my name is Teddy Jack. I live on 542 West North Street. I don't understand why we need to annex all this more land when our utility systems are overworked, and out of date. We can't get into the gas stations. We've got so many people. The grocery store has empty shelves. There's too many people for the amount of infrastructure that we've got in this town. I just don't understand it. I'm an old person. I've been living in this town for probably 40 years altogether in my life. And my utility bills continue to go up. The road plowing and the services provided by the city deteriorates. We can't keep up with what we got. And yet you want to annex a whole bunch more stuff. I just don't understand. Who does that benefit? It doesn't benefit me. Maybe some of you, maybe you get financial compensation out of this or something.
Not so much.
And I would appreciate it, especially if the chunky guy over here would speak into the phone when he talks. You don't speak very plain. You haven't had good training in public speaking, and we absolutely cannot hear you.
Okay, I don't think I've said much.
It's too bad that you don't think enough of your opinion to make it heard.
All right.
I realize these meetings don't mean nothing, and that you do with whatever you feel like. Who's ever's got the biggest lawyer and the most money to spend. But I don't think it's a good idea at all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Teddy Jack.
Thank you, sir.
Any other public comment? Well, hearing none, I'm gonna close that portion of the meeting and we'll move on to the legal description. Ms. Katie?
Mr. Chairman, if I could just provide one clarification on the potential condition you could have.
Go for it, sir.
Can you hear me adequately?
Yes.
So Chris, what happens is that we have either it's our side or your side has poor Wi-Fi, so it just stops.
Like now.
There we go.
One thing condition you could add is something that says sidewalks, trails, parks, or other public amenities will be considered by the applicant for inclusion into the subdivision plan. You could include that, or you could say will be included, you know, or something that says public amenities will be included into the subdivision plan. That's at your discretion. The other thing I wanted to comment on is that we did receive comments from town departments and referral agencies, and everyone indicated there was adequate services and infrastructure to serve the development. So that's a comment I should have made early on. It was a comment in the memo. And so nobody's indicated there's any issues with water capacity or sewer capacity. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, moving on to the legal description, Ms.
The
Katie?
legal description
Legal
is just part
description.
of the requirement with the public hearing, so
All right.
that's its only legal description.
So then I guess we'll move on to 3, action agenda. I would entertain a motion for the approval of December 14th, 2021 minutes.
So moved.
I'll second that.
Roll call, please.
Vice Chairperson Gadd,
Yes.
Commissioner Nelson, Commissioner O'Shea Heidinger,
Yes.
Trustee Politis,
Yes.
Mayor Tarkington,
Yes.
Chairperson Nyberg,
Yes.
all in favor.
All right, moving on to action agenda B, 2021 Mustang Crossing annexation zoning. Any questions from the board?
Can I ask a question? It's come up several times with this development as well as some others about the town's services and does the sewer treatment plant, is this gonna be a concern to add another 85 homes up there? I mean, the plan talks about the piping and.
So the issue with the sewer plant is hydrology, not necessarily typical services. So what we have in the sewer plant issue is the fact that we have I&I, so all sewer users of the town are now being charged a $5 monthly I&I fee, basically to remove what is typically stormwater or irrigation water that is seeping into the sewer system and creating a capacity issue regarding hydrology. So there is capacity to treat this subdivision. As far as the water utilities, the applicant will have to go through a analysis, and we send this to our engineer for analysis of the water use of the homes, and they have to provide the compensation or the water appropriate for this subdivision.
Does that answer your question?
I think so. I mean, I've seen with other developments too, there's been talk of water rights that were associated with the property being transferred to the town. Is there any part of this development that includes something like that where the town would obtain some more water rights?
They haven't gotten that far.
Okay.
But yes, they will be required to provide adequate water to serve this development, or compensation for us to purchase or acquire water rights.
Any other questions?
I would move to recommend to the Board of Trustees approve the proposed zoning amendment for the property because it addresses the factors in the Land Use Code, Section 3-10, B15, with the conditions as discussed, adding that public amenities will be included as a condition.
I would second that. Any other discussion by the board? Roll call, please.
Vice Chairperson Gadd,
Yes.
Commissioner Nelson. Yes. Commissioner O'Shea Heidinger. Yes. Trustee Politis,
Yes.
Mayor Tarkington,
Yes.
Chairperson Nyberg,
Yes.
all in favor.
Can we just ask confirmation, O'Shea Heidinger, your audio just blinked out. Was it a yes or a no?
It was a yes. Did you get me?
Yes, thank you.
Okay.
All in favor? We'll move on to number 4, discussion, Community Development Director status and update.
So I'd like to introduce you to Nicole Killian. Nicole is our new Community Development Director. I'm proud to announce this new position. As the board is aware, we drafted the job description in 2021, budgeted in 2022. We modified it in January 4th, 2022. And we're very happy to have Nicole on our staff. She starts the 24th of January. And as some of the public has indicated, yes, we do need a lot of help with the land use applications that are coming our way. Nicole has over 20 years of planning experience in both the private and public sectors, with most of her career in management positions. She is currently the Assistant Director of Community Development for the City of Durango, where she worked for over 15 years and managed up to 33 staff members at one time. While she loves her work at the City of Durango, Bayfield is her home. Eddie and Nicole bought their home in Bayfield in April of 2007, with daughter added to the family in 2011. Her family loves this community and is looking forward to guiding the future of the town of Bayfield. So we are very happy to have Nicole starting with the town. This is not the most complex annexation that's coming your way. We just accepted the final application for the east annexation. And so that will be another topic of discussion regarding not only residential but commercial development here in town as well. So thank you, Nicole, for accepting the position. And we're very happy to have her on board.
Welcome, welcome.
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 And
The Brooke Briel resignation.
so I guess we have some housekeeping stuff to deal with concerning the Planning Commission.
That's correct.
And
So before everybody leaves, there is a vacancy on the Planning Commission. Brooke Briel actually just resigned today because of her workload. She is unable to continue her commitment on the Planning Commission. So we have an open seat on the Planning Commission. We certainly encourage anybody in this audience, or if you know of a neighbor that lives in town, please submit a letter of interest to myself, or drop it off at Town Hall. We would be happy to consider them. The Planning Commission makes the recommendation to the Board of Trustees. So we'd be happy for anybody interested that lives in the town to submit their interest.
thank you, ma'am. So I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Awesome. Thank you guys for showing up tonight. We appreciate all the feedback. So thank you.
Thank you all.
This one closed.
Traffic study. I'm under the impression that someone is going to run analysis of the traffic